My daughter covered the evidence of my wife cheating on me. She mistakenly sent me a text. "Mom, you are better with your boss. Dad is not smart enough to find out. I hope you have fun on the trip." This was when my wife told me she had gone away for a business trip. What happened next was rather unexpected. I will tell you everything. First, let me quickly thank you for your continuous support. This means a lot to us. If you enjoy the stories we share, kindly subscribe to this channel. It will be great if you can leave a comment on which city you are watching from. We might just give you a shout out in our next story. Today's special shout out goes to Joe Wright from Florida. We are glad you enjoy our stories. Now let's go deeper into the story. They used to call me dependable. My wife, my daughter, even my co-workers, they all said it like it was a badge of honor, something to be admired. I was the guy who never forgot birthdays, who always paid the mortgage early, who drove across town at midnight to jumpstart a neighbor's car. I didn't see it as a virtue, though. I saw it as love. Quiet, consistent, unglamorous love. Maybe that's why I didn't see it coming. Maybe I was too busy being the rock that I never noticed how easily people had started stepping over me like I was just part of the scenery. My name's Alex, and for 22 years, I was a husband and a father before anything else. I met Teresa when we were both 25. She was sharp, driven, gorgeous in that polished, office power kind of way. I was more the behind-the-scenes guy. IT specialist by trade, handyman by necessity. I liked fixing things. Teresa liked achieving things. It worked for us, at first. We bought a house, had our daughter, Jenna, a year later, and built what most would call a stable life. I did the morning routines, packed school lunches, cleaned gutters, and never forgot to pick up her dry cleaning. That's who I was, the guy who held it all together. Teresa started climbing the ladder at her marketing firm, and I supported every late night, every weekend seminar, every urgent client dinner, without question. She earned more than I did by the time Jenna hit high school, and I wasn't threatened by that. I was proud. She was brilliant. Jenna got that from her. Ambitious, witty, always 3 steps ahead of everyone else. I didn't mind playing the background. If they shined, that meant I'd done my job right. Things started to shift subtly, though. Around Jenna's second year of college, Teresa began taking more business trips. She'd tell me last minute, always citing some high-stakes presentation or strategy session that couldn't wait. At first, I didn't think much of it. Work was demanding. That's what success looks like, right? But then came the secrecy. Locked phones, vague hotel names, delayed responses, a new gym membership she never used, new clothes I'd never see her wear at the office. Still, I didn't want to believe it. I chalked it up to stress, midlife restlessness, even menopause. Anything but betrayal. I kept telling myself that this was just a rough patch, that if I stayed steady, she'd come back around. I even booked a weekend getaway, just the two of us, but she said she had a leadership retreat that same weekend. I canceled my plans, kissed her goodbye at the door, and told her to be safe. That's how far my trust went. I was still packing her snacks while she packed her lies. As for Jenna, she remained my pride. Even when she leaned more toward her mother in personality, sharp-tongued, impatient with sentimentality, I still saw the little girl I used to rock to sleep. She'd come home during school breaks, hug me distractedly, and spend most of her time FaceTiming friends or shopping on my dime. I didn't mind. That's what dads are for, right? To make life easier for their kids. I never asked for anything in return. I figured loyalty was implied. Looking back, there were signs. Jenna once joked about Mom having a work husband, and when I asked what that meant, she laughed it off, said I was too old-fashioned to get it. Another time, she asked if I ever thought about retiring early. "You've done your part," she said. "Let Mom carry the rest." At the time, I thought she meant well. Now, I wonder if she was hinting that I was already obsolete in their eyes. One night, Teresa came home from a conference and forgot to remove her hotel wristband before bed. I noticed it when she rolled over, the bright plastic band sticking out beneath her sleeve. I didn't say anything. I should have. Instead, I stared at it for a long time and told myself it wasn't what it looked like. That was my biggest flaw. I gave people the benefit of the doubt long after they'd stopped deserving it. My routine never changed. I still filled the fridge with her favorite snacks before every trip. Still left little notes in her suitcase like I used to when Jenna was a baby. I didn't see the erosion. Or maybe I did, but I kept patching it with the same blind faith I'd built this family on. The kind that says if you work hard and love harder, everything will stay together. I remember one night, lying awake at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'd made a mistake choosing the kind of love that's quiet over the kind that demands to be seen. Teresa never said she was unhappy. Neither did Jenna. But maybe silence is its own kind of confession. Then came the text. But that's for another chapter. It was a Thursday morning, the kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful. More like the calm before a storm you can sense, but can't quite name. I'd just settled into my home office, sifting through spreadsheets for a mid-morning client call, when my phone buzzed. I glanced down, half expecting a notification from the bank or a spam email. Instead, I saw a text from Jenna. That wasn't unusual in itself. She texted randomly, usually when she needed money or forgot a password. But this one, it wasn't meant for me. Mom, you're better with your boss. Dad's not smart enough to find out. I hope you have fun on the trip. My hand actually trembled as I read it. I blinked, thinking maybe I was misreading it. Maybe it was a joke or meant for someone else. But it had my name in it. And the worst part? That careless cruelty tucked in the middle like a dagger. Dad's not smart enough. That's what gutted me most. Not just the betrayal, but the disrespect. The dismissal. Like I was a background character in my own damn life. I didn't respond. I just sat there, reading the message again, each word digging deeper than the last. I stared at it until the letters blurred. Then I stood up, walked to the bathroom, and splashed cold water on my face like that would somehow reset everything. But nothing reset. Nothing made it better. That message didn't disappear. My daughter, my blood, had sided with her mother. And worse, she believed I was too stupid to see what was happening. They were laughing behind my back. Together. Over the next hour, I spiraled. I scrolled back through texts, photos, credit card records. I dug into Teresa's emails, the ones she'd accidentally synced to our shared iCloud when she updated her phone. I found a reservation for a resort spa in Charleston. She'd told me she was in Phoenix. A different coast. A different lie. I clicked through photos she'd saved in her email drafts, ones she probably meant to send but never did. Selfies, mirror shots and lacy hotel robes. Wine glasses and candlelight. Not a damn briefcase in sight. That was the moment the fog cleared. This wasn't a one-time thing. This wasn't a lapse in judgment. This was calculated, rehearsed, and cruelly choreographed. My wife had built an entire second life, and my daughter, my little girl, was in on it. She knew. She approved. And she thought I was too dull, too gentle, too naive to catch on. They thought I was weak. And maybe I had been. But not anymore. I didn't confront Teresa that day. I couldn't. Not yet. I needed to see how far the rot had spread. I started digging like a man possessed. Bank statements, phone logs, social media tags. She'd posted an old photo of her at an airport gate weeks ago, captioned, "Always working." But the terminal behind her didn't match the one she said she was flying out of. I searched the background of every post, zoomed in on reflections, checked timestamps. My own wife had become a stranger I had to investigate like a suspect. I called Jenna the next day. I tried to keep my voice level. "Hey, sweetheart. You hear from Mom?" She said her phone's off during the retreat. She hesitated. Just for a beat. Enough to make my stomach churn. "Yeah," she texted earlier. Said the sessions were running late. You know how those retreats are. I nodded into the silence, heart pounding. "And she's in Phoenix, right?" Yeah, Phoenix." Her tone was clipped, tight. Then she pivoted, as if trying to get me off the scent. "Why?" "Something wrong." That's when it really hit me, how smooth she was. How ready. She was covering, lying to my face like it meant nothing. Like the father who paid her tuition, covered her rent, and kept her warm every winter with hard-earned money was just a tool to be manipulated. "No," I finally said. "Nothing's wrong. Just wanted to hear your voice." I hung up and stared at the ceiling for an hour, fists clenched at my sides. They had no idea I knew. That gave me an advantage. But it also made me feel hollow, like I'd stepped outside my own body and was watching a man quietly unravel. That night, I poured a drink, scotch, the good kind I used to save for birthdays, and sat in the dark. I thought about every memory. Every Sunday breakfast I made while Teresa slept in. Every ride to ballet class. Every prom dress I paid for. Every college application fee I covered. None of it mattered. Not really. Because in the end, when loyalty was tested, they chose convenience. They chose each other. And they left me out. I didn't sleep. My mind kept replaying Jenna's text over and over. Not just the words, but the tone. That smug, dismissive tone. Dad's not smart enough. That's what kept me up. Not the affair. Not the lie. The insult. The assumption that I was a fool. That I didn't count. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I remember the exact sound the garage door made when Teresa came home. A slow groaning rumble followed by the soft slam of her trunk and the clack of her suitcase wheels against the concrete. I had been waiting in the kitchen for almost an hour by then, pretending to sip cold coffee while watching the driveway through the window blinds like a man about to confront a burglar. Except this thief wasn't just taking money. She'd taken time, trust, years of my life. She walked in like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just spent 3 days in Charleston with another man. "Hey, babe," she said casually, tossing her purse on the counter and stretching like someone returning from a yoga retreat, not a secret rendezvous. Flight was brutal. I could really use a shower and a nap. I didn't answer right away. I watched her, studied every movement. The way she avoided eye contact. The way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. She used to come home and kiss my cheek without fail. This time, she breezed past me like I was invisible. Like I wasn't the man who paid for that flight. The man she once promised to love through everything. "You have fun in Phoenix?" I finally asked, keeping my voice flat. She froze for half a second, just enough to give herself away, then turned to me with that fake frown she wore whenever she sensed danger. "It wasn't fun. Work trips never are, Alex. You know that." I nodded slowly. "That's funny, because I found a hotel receipt from Charleston. And a few pictures. Ones you never posted. Ones with wine glasses and lace." Her lips parted slightly, but no sound came out. For a split second, I thought she might double down on the lie. Deny it all. Claim I was confused. But something in my face must have told her not to try. Her shoulders slumped. That mask of control she always wore cracked right in front of me. "Alex," she began, but I held up a hand. "No, you don't get to say anything yet." My voice was calm. Too calm, like a man speaking from the bottom of a well. "I just need one thing from you right now. The truth." She sat down heavily on the edge of the sofa, arms crossed, as if bracing for a storm of her own making. "It started last year," she said, eyes fixed on the floor. "At the office holiday party. I was drunk. He was charming. It was a mistake at first. I laughed, actually laughed. It startled even me. A year? A whole damn year. And you let me make you coffee every morning like everything was fine. I didn't plan for it to go on," she muttered, her voice small. He made me feel seen. "You've been so distant, Alex." That was the part that stung. Not the excuse itself, but the fact that she thought that would make it better. As if she'd been the neglected party. As if being distant meant I deserved to be humiliated. I wasn't distant, I snapped. I was exhausted. From carrying this family. From making sure you never had to worry about a damn thing. That's not distance. That's devotion. She looked up, eyes glassy now. But I didn't care. Not anymore. "And Jenna?" I said quietly. "What role did she play in this circus?" Her eyes widened. "You talked to her?" "No," I said. "She talked to me. By accident. Sent me a message meant for you. She knew, Teresa. She encouraged it. And you let her. She was trying to protect me. Don't." I cut in sharply. "Don't make this about protection." She mocked me. She called me stupid. She knew I was being lied to and laughed about it. That's not protection. That's betrayal. Teresa broke down then, tears spilling fast. But I felt nothing. Not pity. Not anger. Just an eerie calm. Like something inside me had finally snapped back into place after being twisted for too long. "I'm done," I said, standing up. "I already spoke to an attorney. Papers will be drawn up by the end of the week. You'll get what's fair, but not a penny more." She stood too, desperate now. "Alex, wait, please. Don't let this blow up everything. Don't throw away 20 years. You threw it away," I said. "One hotel room at a time." I packed a bag that night, and stayed in a hotel. I couldn't sleep in the same house anymore. I couldn't even sit on the same couch without feeling sick. I stared at the ceiling of that stiff little hotel room, replaying every moment of the confrontation, and I felt a wave of clarity I hadn't felt in years. They didn't just betray me. They underestimated me. That was the part one couldn't forgive. The quiet man, the not smart enough dad. He finally saw the truth, and he wasn't going to be quiet anymore. The next morning, I canceled Jenna's cards, froze the joint account. I sent her a message, short, cold, final, "You're an adult now. Act like one. Don't contact me again." Then I blocked her. It felt like amputating a part of myself, but sometimes the limb is too diseased to save. I always thought fatherhood was permanent, that once you became a dad, it was like a contract sealed in blood and time, non-negotiable, unbreakable. But sitting alone in that hotel room, staring at the blank space where Jenna's contact used to be, I realized something that made me nauseous. Fatherhood might be unconditional, but respect isn't. And when your own child doesn't respect you, doesn't value your presence beyond your wallet and your silence, you're not a father anymore. You're just a resource, a bank account with a first name. The morning after I cut her off, Jenna blew up my phone from blocked numbers and burner accounts like a damn telemarketer. The messages came in rapid fire. "You're overreacting. This isn't my fault. You're hurting me more than you know." One of them actually said, "You're being cruel." Cruel. Me. The man who paid for every school trip, who spent nights fixing her science projects, who drove her across 3 states to visit colleges she never thanked me for. And now I was cruel for refusing to let her benefit from my betrayal? She tried guilt first, then gaslighting. She texted my sister, my cousin, hell, even my old boss, to talk some sense into me. I got voicemails from mutuals I hadn't heard from in years, suddenly concerned about my mental state. She spun the story like I was having some kind of midlife spiral, that I was lashing out and destroying my family over a misunderstanding. But I still had the screenshot. Her words, her smug little message, laced with betrayal. "Dad's not smart enough." That truth was a knife I carried in my pocket now, and I touched it every time I started to feel doubt creep in. I didn't respond to any of them. I changed my number and let the silence speak for me. That's what they never expected. They thought I'd rage, cry, beg for clarity. But all I gave them was distance, and it was more brutal than any argument ever could have been. A week passed. Then 2. Teresa moved out quietly after the papers were signed. No dramatic goodbyes. No apologies. Just boxes, tape, and the sound of a door closing behind her for the last time. She got half the equity in the house and a small portion of the savings. I wasn't vindictive. I just wanted her gone. I even let her take the guest room furniture she always hated. I figured she could sit on those cushions and think about everything she threw away. Jenna, meanwhile, kept spiraling. She emailed me under a new account, this time with an entirely different tone. Softer, almost pitiful. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Mom was lonely, and I didn't know how to stop her. Please don't give up on me." And that's when the anger really hit. Because not once did she say she was sorry for lying, for covering, for mocking me. Her apologies were centered around consequences, not remorse. I forwarded the email to a burner folder I created just for this. No reply. Just a digital graveyard of excuses and manipulation. One evening, my friend Andre stopped by. He'd heard through the grapevine what happened, and unlike everyone else, he didn't come bearing unsolicited advice. He just brought 2 beers, sat on my back porch, and said, "Want to talk or want to sit in silence?" We sat in silence. It was the most peace I'd felt in months. Finally, he spoke. "You did what a lot of men wouldn't. You didn't blow up. You walked away. That's power, man." I nodded. "Still hurts like hell." "Yeah," he said, "but pain is part of detox. You're flushing 20 years of lies out of your system." That line stuck with me. Detox. That's exactly what this was. Painful, slow, but necessary. I started therapy the next week. Not because I was falling apart, but because I needed to make sure I didn't carry this rot into whatever came next. I told my therapist everything, about the betrayal, the divorce, the guilt of cutting off my daughter. She listened, nodded, asked the right questions. When I told her about the text, she leaned back and said, "You know, that message wasn't just careless. It was contemptuous. That kind of contempt doesn't grow overnight. It festers. It's taught." And there it was. The truth I hadn't wanted to admit. Somewhere along the way, Teresa had taught Jenna to look down on me, to see me as lesser. Maybe not in obvious ways, but in small, constant gestures. The way she brushed off my thoughts. The jokes she made about my job. The subtle sneer in her voice when she talked about dad logic. Jenna learned that from her mother, and I let it happen. I enabled it with silence and generosity. But that ends now. I wasn't going to be anyone's footnote anymore. Not Teresa's. Not Jenna's. Not anyone's. The fallout didn't hit all at once. It came in slow, sharp waves, each one more humiliating than the last. First, there were the whispers. Not direct confrontations, of course, but the kind that echo behind closed doors and inside grocery store aisles when they think you're too far away to hear. "Did you hear Alex kicked out his own daughter? I heard he's bitter because his wife left him." The truth had been mangled and twisted before it ever left my neighborhood. I'd been rebranded from the stable, quiet man everyone trusted to the cold-hearted father who threw his family away. And of course, they had help. Teresa didn't waste a second spinning her side. She posted a long-winded Facebook status full of vague sadness and martyrdom. Some people would rather lose everything than forgive. "I'll always love my daughter, and I'll always be proud of her for standing by me during the hardest time of my life." It was perfectly worded for sympathy, vague enough to avoid facts, but sharp enough to draw blood. I didn't comment. I didn't engage. I just read the 100 comments underneath. Friends, co-workers, even extended family chiming in with prayers, hearts, and blind support. They didn't know what happened. They didn't care to. What hit hardest, though, was how easily people swallowed her version. My niece unfollowed me. My old college roommate sent me a passive-aggressive text. "Man, I hope you're not letting anger drive your decisions." Even my own mother, bless her frail heart, asked if maybe I could just sit down with Jenna and talk it out. I could hear the quiet judgment in her voice. Like I was the one who'd upended everything. Like I hadn't spent years being the only one holding the damn foundation together. What no one seemed to understand was that I didn't go looking for revenge. I didn't yell, or break things, or try to punish anyone. I just left. I withdrew my love, my money, and my time. The three things they'd always taken for granted. And somehow, that made me the villain. It escalated 2 weeks later when Jenna posted a TikTok. Yes, a TikTok. About being abandoned by the person who's supposed to love you the most. It had sad music, screenshots of my text cutting her off, and even a picture of the two of us when she was little, me holding her up on my shoulders at a fair. The caption read, "He gave up on me." I guess I was never really his priority. That video blew up. Thousands of likes. Comments from strangers telling her how brave she was. Telling her I didn't deserve her. And still, I didn't respond. I sat in my living room and stared at that video playing on a loop. It wasn't just a betrayal anymore. It was a public execution of my character. My face, my fatherhood, reduced to content. And she knew the narrative would be in her favor because people love a wounded daughter story. It's clean, emotional, easy to digest. No one wants to hear about the father who was betrayed and decided to finally say no. That story's too complicated. Andre stopped by again the night that video went viral. He brought whiskey this time, the kind you only open when it's been a really bad day. We sat on the porch again, our unofficial therapy booth, and passed the bottle back and forth like two old men watching the end of the world. "I saw it," he said, no need to clarify. "The video." I nodded. "She's turning pain into likes." He tilted the bottle toward me. "You know what the saddest part is? She doesn't even believe it. But she needs to be the victim to sleep at night." I swallowed hard. I raised her to be honest. Thought I did anyway. Andre leaned back and exhaled. "You raised her the best you could. But her mother taught her how to survive by lying. And now she's better at that than she is at being decent." I didn't reply. There wasn't much left to say. That weekend, my sister finally came by in person. She sat on the same couch Teresa used to pretend to love me on and tried to reason with me like I was a stubborn teenager. "Alex, I get that you're hurt." "I do. But Jen is still your daughter. No, I said, my voice as level as a judge passing sentence. She was my daughter. She's a grown woman now, and she chose. But blood doesn't make you loyal, I interrupted. If anything, it makes the betrayal worse. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. Maybe she didn't. Maybe I was finally being someone who protected himself, and that didn't fit the narrative everyone had built around me. The docile husband, the indulgent father, the man who absorbed every punch with a smile. But I wasn't that man anymore, and I wasn't going back. That night, I deleted every photo of Teresa from my phone. Not in a fit of rage, just quiet closure. I left the ones of Jenna. I couldn't bring myself to erase her completely, but I moved them to a hidden folder, somewhere I wouldn't see them unless I went looking. That felt right. She wasn't gone, but she wasn't welcome either. For the first time in years, I slept with both eyes closed. 6 months passed like seasons I wasn't part of. Fall gave way to winter, and I didn't bother raking the leaves or hanging the wreath Teresa used to insist on. The house was quieter now. Not dead. Just calm, like an exhale after years of holding my breath. I filled my time with simple things. Morning walks, weekend repairs I used to delay, cooking for one with a kind of quiet pride. I learned how to poach eggs properly, how to balance a checkbook without checking joint statements, how to sit in my own silence and not feel like I was drowning in it. People stopped talking eventually, or maybe I just stopped caring. Teresa had moved to a condo across town. Some soulless, beige two-bedroom that fit her new lifestyle. She still worked for the same firm, though her social media presence got quieter after her little pity campaign fizzled out. I think even she realized there's only so long you can play the victim before people move on to the next tragedy. Jenna never reached out again. Not after the TikTok. Not after the follow-up post where she thanked her true support system for carrying her through the hardest year of her life. It was laughable, in a sick way. She turned our family's collapse into a highlight reel, a lesson in survival that skipped over the part where she helped destroy the very thing she claimed to mourn. I thought about her more than I cared to admit. Not in a way that made me want to fix anything, but in a quiet, haunted kind of way. Like when you lose a tooth and your tongue keeps reaching for the gap out of habit. I'd see a father walking with his daughter and feel that hollow ache, that instinct to say, that used to be me. But it wasn't anymore. That man was gone. That daughter had chosen a side, and I'd accepted the verdict. Forgiveness, I realized, isn't the same as forgetting. I forgave her for being young, for being impressionable, for getting swept up in her mother's orbit and not seeing the damage until it was done. But I would never forget what it felt like to read that message. Dad's not smart enough. That wasn't an accident. That was a sentiment that had roots. And once you hear something like that, it lives in your bones. It changes the way you look at everything that came before. I thought, briefly, about reaching out. Just once. Just to say I still loved her, even if I didn't trust her. But that thought passed. Love without trust is pity. And I wasn't looking to be pitted or pitiful. I was looking to be free. One afternoon, as I was restaining the deck. The kind of slow, meditative work that makes your hands ache and your mind go quiet. I saw my neighbor's teenage daughter wave to him from her car before she drove off. He waved back, smiling like a fool, and I felt this strange mixture of envy and relief. Envy for the innocence. Relief that I didn't have to pretend anymore. I think that's what betrayal does. It strips away illusion. And once it's gone, you either build again, stronger, wiser, or you stand in the rubble and curse the storm. I chose to build. I started dating again. Nothing serious. Just coffee, walks, conversation. Women with soft eyes and their own scars. No one tried to fix me. No one needed me to be a provider or a project. Just a man with a story and a seat across the table. It was enough. I wrote a letter once. Never sent it. It said everything I knew Jenna would never read, even if she held it in her hands. I loved you before you had a name. I held you through fevers and nightmares, taught you how to ride a bike, how to apologize when you were wrong. But I didn't teach you what to do when your mother betrayed me. I didn't teach you how to stay loyal when it counted. That's on me. But I won't let it cost me the rest of my life. You made your choice. I've made mine. And I'm okay now. Really okay. I burned that letter in the fire pit out back, Watched the corners curl and blacken until they were nothing but ash. It felt like closure. It felt like peace. So no, there are no second chances. Not for Teresa. Not for Jenna. Not for anyone who looked at me like I was disposable. I gave them decades. They gave me doubt. I gave them love. They gave me lies. And I walked away with the only thing that still belonged to me, my dignity. And now, for the first time in a long time, I finally feel whole. If you've ever been betrayed by the very people who were supposed to protect you, then you know how much strength it takes to walk away. And how much peace waits on the other side. Tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share your own story, and let's talk about what real self-respect looks like when love is no longer enough. See you soon in the next story.